very important part of this third day. That is a panel discussion on digital resilience in higher education. And for that, we have got leaders from the higher education space, from the industry as well. Industry leaders are joining us for this. We know that the world is changing, and it's changing fast in the new world order. And it is imperative that the higher education sector reassesses its academic approach. A new approach should focus on building resiliency and thriving in an uncertain future. And that's why the session name is Digital Resilience in Higher Education. I think 3-4 points we can discuss in this panel discussion. That's keeping in mind the new world order, the need of the new world order, especially for higher education sector, debunking long-held orthodoxies in the traditional academic model, build a digital-ready institution, reinvent student experience, and develop a thriving multi-stakeholder ecosystem. And for that, we have eminent speakers with us. Let me first introduce to all of you. We are joined by Professor P.B. Sunilkumar, Director, IIT Palakkad. Thanks, Professor Sunilkumar, for joining us. We are joined by Nikhil Agarwal, CEO First and C3I Hub, IIT Kanpur. Welcome, Nikhil ji. Long time. We are also joined by Dr. Sasmita Samanta, Pro Vice Chancellor, KIIT Odisha. Thank you so much, Professor Samanta, for joining us. We are also joined by Professor S. Salivahanan, Vice Chancellor, Well-Tech Rangarajan, Dr.Sagunthala, R&D Institute of Science and Technology. We welcome Dr. S. Salivahanan. And we are also joined by industry leader, Raghav Gupta, MD, Indian APAC Coursera. Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta, for joining us.
Yeah.
And I was told that we'll be...
Souvik, before you proceed, I would just like to take an excuse over here. Just another meeting also started. Just waiting for you to take a pause and say my goodbye to everyone. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Mohit Gambe.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.
And I was told that Professor B.S. Murthy, Director, IIT Hyderabad, will be joining us shortly, but without taking much time, let us come back to the topic first. And my first question to Mr. Nikhil Agarwal will be that when we talk about reimagining ourselves in the new world order, keeping in mind the digital resilience in higher education, debunking long-held orthodoxies in the traditional academic model, learning just for a degree, single discipline specialization, or fixed curriculum, I think these days are gone. The future of the workforce can be reimagined once we establish a system that favors flexibility in learning and encourages holistic student development. Let me ask this question to Mr. Nikhil Agarwal in this scenario. How universities vision the culture of collaboration that helps them address this old limitation? Your take on that, Mr. Nikhil.
So thanks a lot, Souvik. It's such a lovely morning, and many thanks to all the prominent academicians who have joined us. It's always a pleasant APAC platform. Very pertinent question. Lately, what we have seen in India that there was, in fact, let me take a step back and say, and I'm sure the other professors will support me. For the last 60 years of our existence in India, there were various silos which were created. So the one silo was an IIT silo, another silo was a research institution like ISC, TIFR, they were silo. The third type of silos were medical institutions like AIMS and, so they were another silo. But unfortunately, the silos were working independently. And the fourth silo was traditional universities like Delhi University, Lucknow University, other universities. And these universities, then all these silos were not working together, which is not the Western culture. In West, if you look at, majority of the institutions are quite intrinsically working together. I myself is a graduate of two known universities, Cambridge and Edinburgh. And I have worked in the international university where I have seen quite closely that how the medical education, the classical education, the engineering education, the management education, all of them work together. I was stating one example very interestingly last evening that in University of Edinburgh when I joined, so my name of my office was Old Surgeon Hall. So FRCS qualification was started to be given in the same office, and I am a social scientist with interest in technology. And eventually, because that institution has grown and gone to another location, we were given that particular building, and it's still called the old surgeon hall. And the whole department of the research of the basic 200-300 years back, the anatomy was set up in that particular building. That was quite fascinating. And next door, not far away from where I used to sit, the cloning of Dolly Molly happened 20 years back. If you recall, the sheep were cloned. First time in the history of human being, living mammal was cloned. And from a social science perspective, there was a very close observation of how these cloned mammals behave. So something was done at the medicine, but the social scientist was doing something, and then the certain experiments were done by the engineers of how the new species which was being created by using the replication of the cell, how they are doing this. That was a fantastic experience. Now imagine the same situation in IIT today. If I have to do a collaborative research in a medicine, now in the last one we have seen that the great dependence is coming on to the medical sciences. If I have to do a collaboration in medicine today, I have to go to KGMU, SGPGI, and where the doctors may not be receptive enough to receive us because they also don't understand our lingos. Same way we don't understand their lingos, they also don't understand our lingos. So this particular example I have given from UK to India, the reason is that the collaboration which was needed was missing. But now I think the corrective steps has been taken. IIT Kharagpur has taken a lead step. IIT Kharagpur is setting up a medical college, has set up a medical college in Kharagpur. We are the second one. We are just announced setting up a world-class medical institution at IIT Kanpur. Similarly, the cross-functional area has to improve. And I will stop by just saying the last bit, that we need to find avenues where one topic is looked after by several experts. So economist is looking at the same subject from economist perspective, doctor is looking that subject from the medical perspective, the engineers are trying to solve a problem. Now imagine in a COVID situation when this cohesion we have seen the last 1 year, where several departments, several disciplines are coming together and looking at the same problem, trying to resolve it. And we have seen successively. Recently, there was a book written, in fact, 2 days back, it was inaugurated, a book written by one of our alumni and one professor, Amitabh Bandyopadhyay, on the ventilator project. It became quite a rage. In 90 days' time, we have created a ventilator. And I still remember when exactly a year before, today is 19th March, it happened on 25th March last year, the task we have taken is to develop a ventilator. And none of us in the task force, over 20 people in the task force, have seen a working ventilator in our life. We have never seen that. Now, imagine that ventilator where your life is dependent. If you close your nose for 30 seconds, you cannot breathe. So imagine a critically ill patient in ICU. If he does not get oxygen on time or properly, what situation he would be. So bunch of the engineers, bunch of the mentors, and we took a task of developing a ventilator in 90 days flat. We developed a ventilator that was certified by Ruby Hall, that was certified by Sancheti Hospital. And today, as we speak, hundreds of patients are on the ventilator without any adverse event. And normally they take 3 or 4 years of deep collaborative research from medicine and engineering, but we did that. So there we realized that there is a need for a collaboration, and we need to work more closely with every aspect of academia and research. That's how the innovation will be there, and we will become the Atmanirbhar in innovation rather than importing innovation from outside. Thank you.
Rightly said. Mr. Nikhil Agarwal, CEO first and C3I Hub IIT Kanpur. I'll come back to you with some other question, but a very important point you have raised that it's time for collaboration, and collaboration has to happen. And you talked about Mr. Professor Amitabh Bandyopadhyay. We are lucky that we had him in our last event where he actually talked about this particular example of ventilator and how it changed the entire ball game. And that's how in this fast changing world, it said that sometimes it takes years to change, sometimes it takes weeks to change. And this pandemic, the new world has proven that things are changing in days time, and India as a country is also upgrading itself, and the higher education space also needs to upgrade itself in terms of building that digital resilience ecosystem? I'll come back to Mr. Nikhil with this. Let me have a perspective from Professor P.V. Sunilkumar, Director, IIT Palakkad. So your take on this particular question, that how university vision the culture of collaboration that helps them address this old limitation of having the same old curriculum, same old approach. So how do you see this?
First of all, thank you, Sharvik and the APAC for this providing this platform for this discussion on digital resilience. Digital resilience could mean a lot of things, and we are focusing here, I guess, on how the digital world has enabled us to collaborate or move ahead with on the higher education space. So as Nikhil Agarwal pointed out, collaboration is extremely important in the coming world, the coming year, in the future world. The years where people worked alone and to do things and to innovate things and to come up with new discoveries, etc., is kind of over. Now it's the era of collaboration, of course, and interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, etc. people talk about these days. The only thing which I differ from Nikhil in that context is that the necessity for establishing everything in one place, one institute. I think that is I differ on that thing. Okay, because it is good to have everything in one place. That is definitely good, but it is not necessary. Okay? If you have other institutions close by, we could always collaborate, and I think that is where we need to encourage. And in fact, that's something which we need to encourage. And in today's world, with it, all this, all our connections and communication revolution, you can collaborate with anybody, anywhere in the world. Okay, so every day, now, especially with the pandemic, we see that we don't have working time. We're working. We're talking to people in Delhi at some point of time in the IST. We are talking to people in the US in the time of PST. Okay, and so we are connecting to everybody, and I guess we can do that in some sense. But of course, higher education is not just online or online education. So there is much more to do than that. Okay, and so we having physical access is extremely important. Not denying that. Okay, and having everything in one place is definitely wonderful, but not necessary. For example, we are a new IIT, and we are really looking to leverage, what is existing in neighborhood to make those interdisciplinary activities and collaborations. In fact, I remember when I was a student, when I was attending some talks on interdisciplinary research, okay, and someone mentioned that it's more important to have discussions between two faculty in the same department sitting next to each other, okay, first, and then talk about having interdepartmental discussions. Okay, of course, we have gone far away from that. Okay, that is really very good. Okay, today when we talk about data science and things like that, people don't even use the word interdisciplinary. They say data science is a transdisciplinary subject, right? So, in fact, with this aim in IIT Palakkad, for example, we did not start departments. Now we are in 6th year, and we have not started departments yet. Okay, we have disciplines, and we have courses are running, etc. But we did not form formal departments because we wanted things to go in a mixed fashion. People talk across disciplines and then set up interdisciplinary activities, etc., and then form departments later for academic purposes, for administration and things like that. Where it is necessary at some point when things go beyond some size. Okay, so that is the approach which we have followed. And so that is that's an important aspect. For example, we plan to set up maybe in fact we are setting up an electronics laboratory, which I can see will be one of the biggest in the country, because that electronics laboratory is not going to be used only by electrical engineering or computer science, but used by everyone. Okay, physics will use it, and anybody who wants to do anything in the electronics will go there, and any student who want to take a course will go there. So the advantage of having such places, for example, we are setting up a measurements laboratory, which will actually have measurements at the nanometer scale to measurements at kilometer scale. Okay, we'll be surveying people. Everything will be in one place. So the idea of such cross-disciplinary laboratories and spaces would be that when student goes there, okay, and student goes there to do something, student sees many things, okay, and how can I apply my sensor technology to measurements in that level? Okay, so that is the kind of things we should have, and we should also, as actually Nikhil said, a system level. In fact, the first speaker also said a system level vision, or system level view the student should have. So this is what we are trying to set up here. Okay, so that is one important aspect. Okay, and then of course connecting engineering to medicine. Okay, engineering to biology. Okay, and biology to and engineering to other sciences, mathematics, all of that of course exists. For connecting engineering to medicine is now a big thing, and definitely that is an important thing, and we are actually trying to collaborate with other medical colleges with that. Okay. The difference in languages exists, okay, and that doesn't matter whether it is in the same place or in two different institutions. That language difference will exist unless people put an effort, okay, to understand each other and do things. Okay. Together, it will not change. Okay, so I am a physicist actually, and I work in the area of biological physics. Okay? And I remember when I first started talking to biologists in KIIT from Bombay. Okay, and the people there told me, yeah, we want physicists to come and work in biology, but not to do physics, but to do biology. Okay, so that is the point, right? So you go there and you learn that subject and you do something there. Okay, and just pretending to do that is not going to help. Right? So for that, you have to learn that language. Okay? And if they are interested in advancing their field with the knowledge from other field, then they need to learn this language too. So unless these things come up, this culture comes up, and we were not going to make a difference. And I think we are now moving quite well on in this direction. And people realize that if I learn the language of other discipline, I gain a lot. Okay, and I can make a lot of contribution. And so that is definitely going on. So I will stop it here. I don't know whether I have answered Alshovik's question. Okay. And because there is a whole lot of things, as I said, we can talk about digital resilience. This is not really connected to digital resilience. Okay, but since he asked me a question, I answered that, and I stop here. Okay.
We'll come to the digital part. I think my next question will be on the digital part also. But before I ask the next question to other speakers, let me have a perspective from Professor S. Salivahanan also. Vice Chancellor, WellTech, Rangarajan, Dr.Sagunthala, R&D Institute of Science and Technology. Dr. Salivahanan, your take on this particular point. How university vision the culture of collaboration that helps them address some of the old limitations.
Good morning to all the expert members and the organizers. It gives me immense pleasure to participate in the discussion on digital resilience in higher education. Technology has been driving all the industries and the markets on a global scale, and the recent pandemic situation has further impacted, especially the higher education. More advancements are being introduced in recent times, and they are changing the way we live, work, and study. Higher education has undergone significant upgrades during the last 1 year. Students, teachers, educational leaders, and parents have been affected due to the nationwide lockdown, the consequent switch to remote learning, and the growing digital divide. They acknowledge that the higher education system needs to build long-term resilience to safeguard against future disruptions and ensure academic continuity in all possible scenarios. The educational institutions should be able to adapt to digital challenges. I would like to quote from an online blog. With the internet penetration rate to reach above 55% and expecting to deliver the revenue of $325 billion by 2025, the e-learning sector is blooming, and there are quite a few powerful reasons why students, alumni, and corporates are all benefited from this higher education digital trend. Many EdTech companies offer learning management resources like blended learning, 3D, do-it-yourself kits, and artificial intelligence-based interactive learning. The Government of India introduced the National Education Policy that puts emphasis on digitization besides the use of technology in education to take quality education across the country, including rural areas. The interactive digital media also is a great solution to the shortage of quality teachers in the country. There are many digital platforms for teachers that allow them to stay equipped with advanced digital technology. The most difficult subjects may be made easily understandable through online courses via MOOC, Swayam, Coursera, NPTEL, etc., delivered by well-renowned professors. The online teaching and learning has become, and it has some advantages that flexible time slot is possible for faculty and students. Lifelong learning is also possible, and commuting time is saved. E-learning gives students the chance to study at any place and at any time, accommodating their needs perfectly. Today's learners want a personalized mobile approach to education, and that is exactly what this option provides. With e-learning, the reach of educators is virtually infinite. With the money and the time saved, more resources can be preserved as well. Scalability enhances the effects of learning and the teaching processes, helping both parties involved. Full-time employees or individuals who don't have the necessary time to attend physical classes are no longer left behind. Learning and completing courses after work, in the evening, on the weekends, or when they have spare time is possible through this digital mode. From recorded lessons and written content to collaborative learning, software and webinars, possibilities are multiple, and anyone with an internet connection can easily access them. E-learning facilitates a reduction in learning time by even up to 60%. E-learning reduces study time from the following considerations. A single learning session wraps up the entire lesson. Students don't have to keep up with the learning speed of the entire classroom group, because our students are not homogeneous. Bright students are there as well as weaker section is there. We have to adjust both of them, and accordingly we can teach them. Learners don't have to travel to a certain institution, eliminating commuting. Students can focus solely on learning material areas relevant to them. Because learning time and resources are reduced, e-learning is the more cost-effective alternative. Learning through this mode is fast and easy, so naturally a decrease in expense occurs. Digital learning makes it possible to update study materials fast and in real time, keeping content fresh and relevant in quickly changing environments. There are some disadvantages.
Dr. Salivahanan, if you don't mind, I think we have some other points also to cover. I'll come back to you, but very important point you have raised that in the last part of your speech, that where you talked about the importance of digital learning and digital education. And the topic of this session is digital resilience in higher education. With this, I move to the next set of questions, to next set of speakers. Building a digital ready institution. If I talk about that, building a digital ready institution. So if I may ask to Dr. Sasmita Samanta, Pro Vice Chancellor, KIIT Odisha. Ma'am, top 2 lessons learned during pandemic that inspires your next 5 years of digital adaptation roadmap. If you can shed some light on that. If you can unmute your mic, please.
Thank you for this question. Yes, till now, all the higher education institutions are engaged in integrating the minds with different sectors of knowledge. And that was the basic focus of all the higher education institutions. And with that focus, the higher education institutions were designed by putting its students, the faculties, the resources in place as such that integration can happen seamlessly. So for that, a system was developed where the faculties, the classrooms, the laboratories, the pedagogy, the courses were designed and a seamless system was developed. But after the outbreak of this pandemic, what happened? The system what was designed and developed since last so many years, suddenly we all realized in higher education institutions that how to integrate with the minds, how to integrate the minds with different sector of knowledge and try to evolve with this. Yes, the technology was acting as the enabler in education system since last 2 decades. It was already existing, and the integration of technology with the education system was happening in a much faster rate in last 5 years. And if we keenly observe the guidelines of the statutory bodies of this country in last 10 to 11 years, we find since 2010, lots of emphasis is there for digitization of education system, if not to 100%, but integration of digital learning with the traditional learning was always there. So in 2010, University Grants Commission came with a system of open elective system where the students can take courses from different disciplines. If a student is studying physics, he or she can take the courses from economics, they can take the courses from history, they can take the courses from mechanical engineering, or whatever courses are available in the university setup itself. But after 5 years, the system was, the guidelines was developed that students can also take the courses from different online sources. It's like MOOCs from Coursera, from any online digital platform. So that sort of seamless system was developed, and all the institutions were slowly going for that. And lots of emphasis was there on blended learning. As such, wherever the technological intervention was required, that should be done. Wherever the technological intervention is not that much effective, their physical intervention should happen. So the universities were going on in that way. But after the outbreak of this pandemic, suddenly one exploration happened that all the institutions had to go for the online education, and it's continuing since last 1 year. We are going to complete 1 year in this month itself. And that exploration had helped each one of us to evolve or to explore lots of positive and negative effect of this digital learning. Coming to the positive side of digital learning, whatever has evolved in last 1 year, I can say that, as I said, that change is always truth, and change is happening in all the space all the time. And sometimes we say that it's much faster. Sometimes we say that it's happening and it's exploration, but change is happening. And when the changes are happening in the education system by intervention of technology in last 1 year, we are finding that 2 things have happened. One thing is that, if I take the 2 major things, one thing is that we have devised the mechanism to collaborate with the institutions all over the country, all over the globe. Because education, sports, and culture was always a global issue, or is being considered as the sectors to integrate the whole world. So while the digital exploration happened, all the institutions have tried their best to collaborate with different institutions around the globe, because we got the way how to collaborate. We signed lots of MOUs. We are finding number of international faculties talking to the students in different Indian universities, maybe every time, every day, in seminars, conferences, in different ways. And coming to the research collaboration, I think that innovation and research has got lots of good inputs in this. Of course, barring few disciplines like medicine, dentistry, nursing, where the physical intervention is very much required, in all other sectors, particularly in technology, the social sciences, we are finding the research and innovation has taken a momentum in all the academic institutions. In my university, I would like to say that we have also placed certain laboratories like the Laboratory of Leadership, the Design Thinking, FinTech, IoT, which labs are being used by all the students across the university. And slowly, after the collaborating with international universities around the globe, we have tried to collaborate with institutions in the state itself, the social science institution, the tech institutions, and we are taking up the regional issues to our purview of research and also for the academics. In open electives, we are motivating the students to take up one international issue and one regional issues to work on that. So coming to the academic system, as I said, in the next few days, I hope that all the universities will be planning how to collaborate with the institutions nearby and also with the international universities and take up the various diverse issues to the purview of the academics and research in all the institutions itself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for shedding some light on what has been one of the biggest learning in last maybe in during the pandemic, and what can be the future roadmap for KIIT Odisha. Thank you so much, Dr. Sasmita Samanta, Pro Vice Chancellor, KIIT Odisha. We're also joined by a very special guest, Professor B.S. Murthy, Director, IIT Hyderabad. Thank you, Mr. Murthy, for joining us.
Sorry, I was late. I'm late.
No, but I think you have joined in right time, because my next question was supposed to ask to you. So my question to you will be that.
Okay.
So my question to you will be that top 2 lessons learned during the pandemic that inspires your next 5-year digital adoption roadmap. Professor Murthy, if you can shed some light on that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is googly that has come. Okay. Let me try to address. Yeah, first of all, please excuse me for being late. I had another meeting up to 11. I have initially informed him that I'll be able to join only at 11. So please forgive me for that. Yeah, so I think we have learned a lot of things. It's exactly 1 year. Today is 19th. I remember March 19th. Last year, we have sent all the students to their homes at IIT Hyderabad. So just reminds me that exactly 1 year we have gone through. Of course, a lot of difficulties, but one good thing about the way we all grow is necessity is the mother of invention, as people say. When you see the necessity, a lot of inventions start happening. So, for example, this kind of meetings that we are right now having, we used to possibly have it, but very few of. Most of the meetings which we used to have are physical meetings, but we never thought that this technology that is available, it was even available much earlier, but the using of that technology has not been so great until this pandemic has taught us that yes, we can utilize it and learn a lot of. And one more important point that we have realized, of course, NPTEL has taught this quite some time back, that you can reach out to a larger audience. Earlier, our teaching used to be confined to your class. Okay, the moment NPTEL came, for example, I have 2-3 courses in that, and I keep getting emails from all corners of the world that they have been able to listen to them, and then they are quite happy and they are learning a lot from such courses. So this is something which, again, thanks to this pandemic, got emphasized more and more, that we are able to reach out to a larger audience, to almost every corner. In fact, there is a direction which now government is talking in a big way. Can we reach out to every village and take education to villages to the extent that can we start teaching in local languages? For example, all of us are aware that most of the engineering and science and higher education always goes only in English. The main difficulty that we had was that none of the books in engineering are available in local languages to a large extent. So again, technology is available, but technology has not really been used in a big way. And now this is something which has given a direction which quite a number of people have started working. AICTE has taken lead on that. MHRD is also getting